Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, it's Padawan J.
Hello there.
And we are going to be talking some football this episode, so who better to join in that conversation than your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Yeah, we're going to go over that the XFL, right? The name, teams, announcements
you
today?
you mean those really generic Madden logos from back in the early 2000s?
.jpeg.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the logos, we might have to have a Twitter poll about that just to get the opinion of what you thought of them. Not really impressing the panel.
Option A, they're not good. Option B, they're not good.
Option C, they're really, really not good.
Yeah, we might have to have that up later, so definitely we want you to join in the conversation as we always do. Join in with the hashtag ODPH. You can find our social media links on OchoDuroParlayHour.com, so definitely join in, because this entire episode, and actually next episode as well, we are breaking down the NFL season. Yes, it is football time. It is the big sports time here in America, depending on where you're listening from. So this episode, we are breaking down the entire AFC Conference. The next episode you'll hear, which will be out on Thursday as we're recording, that will be all about the NFC, which if we are lucky...
Correction, NFC East.
Yes.
If you get your way.
If we are lucky, we will be able to talk about any other team than the New York Giants, because Coach Duffy is got notes for days.
Steaming.
I'll say he's made War and Peace seem short.
Yes, so stay tuned for that episode, but we're going to jump right into the AFC, and like I said, join in that social media conversation with the hashtag ODPH, breaking down every division, and then at the end of the episode, we will give you our prediction of who's going to win the AFC. So let's start it off, Coach. You want to lead us in with the AFC East?
Absolutely. So last year we had in first place the New England Patriots. Second place were the Miami Dolphins. Third place finished the Buffalo Bills, Ken.
Yes.
Very proudly.
Very proud of
Fourth
that.
place, and rounding up the AFC East, was the New York Football Jets. Now, some big losses in this division for some of these teams.
Yeah.
More notably, the New England Patriots, your defending champion, losing that guy by the name of Rob Gronkowski.
Bit of a difference maker.
Little bit. Obviously, also Chris Hogan leaving this year, and Trey Flowers, another key loss.
Yeah.
In Buffalo, tons of additions.
Yes.
I mean, they signed everybody. I'm surprised we don't have contracts.
Well, I actually deferred it because I still want to do the podcast, but it's not to say I couldn't be a late season addition. No, my Bills were very sharp and very smart about their free agent signings. I mean, everybody they picked up this year, I was very happy with. And I know that we didn't get Antonio Brown.
Thank God.
Yes, which I'm
which
very
is a good
thankful
thing.
for, because Josh Allen did not need that kind of media distraction for him in his second year here.
No, instead he got Cole Beasley, who, I mean, as a Giants fan, saw terrorize them in the slot for years.
I'll say, and Buffalo's watched Julian Edelman terrorize them for the better part of, a decade or more.
Exactly, so
And-
they're going to
and
utilize...
Cole Beasley's in the same, mold.
Yeah, they're going to utilize him in a way that hopefully Josh Allen will be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I mean, Beasley, John Brown, they're the big wide receiver additions to join Zay Jones on that squad. They got rid of Kelvin Benjamin, which, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with. The running back core, though, I mean, is kind of interesting. I mean, LaShawn McCoy is still going to be there. They did sign Frank Gore. TJ Yeldon's on the squad, and they did draft Delvin Singletary. So they do have a solid core right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of...
Let's just say there's a couple of guys there that especially with Shady and then Frank Gore, there's some tread in the tires.
Right, which they can still go, but it's going to be interesting to see how they progress down the season.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what, at the trade deadline, depending on where Buffalo is and how Frank Gore's playing, whether LaShawn McCoy's name is being brought up in trade discussions.
Yeah.
Because, way more than years past, trades have been a very active thing in the last couple of years that we've never seen before in the NFL, and it'll be very interesting to see if maybe his name gets brought up in maybe Los Angeles with the Chargers, or possibly even Kansas City, where they're desperate for running back right now.
Yeah, and I know you brought up the whole Rob Gronkowski loss, and that is a big loss. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it, but at the same token, they have played a number of games without him, so, they've been able to game plan without him, and they'll be fine without him. They did sign Benjamin Watson, who they've had in the past, and he's a very serviceable tight end. Is he Rob Gronkowski or, no. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it here, but, they do still have, that you brought up they lost Chris Hogan. Yeah, that's true, but they do still have Julian Edelman. They signed Demaryius Thomas, and also they're getting Josh Gordon back. They still have the running back, carousel with Sonny Michel, James White, and Rex Burkhead. So I think they'll make out fine. I mean, is Tom Brady still the quarterback? Yes. Is Bill Belichick still the head coach? Yes. Until that is not the case, I'm not worried.
No, you have to give the Devils their due. And I'll be the first one to tell you. I mean, as much as it pains me, the Patriots still have that system in place, so it doesn't really matter who's on the team.
Yeah.
They're going to find ways to win. Belichick is that smart of a coach. Brady, the only opposition he really has is Father Time, because eventually he's going to fall off.
Well, with TB12, he's going to be invincible.
I mean, if they keep misprinting his age in the programs at stadiums and saying he's 22 instead of 42, you never know.
I mean, like Thanos, he is inevitable.
I know, and I hate that too. But it's the standard in the AFC East. I mean, the Bills have the best shot, in my opinion. I'm not saying that being a homer. I'm saying that they have the best shot of progressing if they're going to be any team to jump out and catch the Patriots this year.
Easy there, because those New York football Jets made some pretty outlandish signings this year themselves.
Oh, yeah. Break it down for me.
Picking up Le'Veon Bell in a big offseason move for them. Getting a running back that obviously, Darnold could really use and needed last year. A dynamic running back. I mean, obviously their running backs last year in Crowell, they played well, but not Le'Veon Bell well.
Right.
So it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously C.J. Mosley as a linebacker to help chase down and pressure Tom Brady. That's the blueprint for beating New England. As a Giants fan, I've seen it. That's what you need to do.
You had to bring that up.
I'm sorry. And, obviously no real big losses this year as far as the Jets standpoint goes. So to me, the Jets are right there on pace with Buffalo. And I actually Buffalo has a very outside chance. I like them this year.
I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo can give them a run for their money, but they won't beat them. But I don't really, I really don't see the Jets making that big of an improvement. Yes, they have Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell is a very good running back. But, for me, it's still kind of up in the air. He did have that year off. What's he going to come back like? It's an unknown factor we've not seen, at least to my recollection, in the NFL, where you have a player sit out a year and then come back. And, okay, so you got Le'Veon Bell. Great. That just means any defense they go up against during the entire NFL season is going to stuff the box, expecting the run, and force their quarterback there, Sam Darnold, to throw. And I'm looking at their depth chart according to ESPN.com. They have Robbie Anderson, Quincy Inouye, and then Jamison Crowder listed as their starting wide receivers. Robbie Anderson last year had 50 catches for 752 yards and 6 touchdowns. Quincy Inouye had 38 catches for 449 yards with 1 touchdown, and then Jamison Crowder had 29 catches for 388 yards with 2 touchdowns. It's not exactly striking fear in me if I'm a defensive coordinator going, we got to stuff the box and just let them burn us with the receivers if they do, because I don't think they will.
That was with a rookie quarterback, though.
That's true.
And now this is Sam Darnold's second year, and he played pretty well for being a rookie.
He did well. But
first pass not included.
Okay, no. Yeah, you throw the early games away.
Yeah,
but overall, though, he played well. He didn't play great.
Sure, yeah.
But
I definitely don't disagree.
He played well. But with the wide receiving core he has, in Inouye, I think, is a better receiver than Robbie Anderson.
He got hurt. Inouye got hurt last year anyway and missed a ton of stretch, I think, in the middle of the year. Mm-hmm. So, he came back towards the end and obviously played well towards the end of the year. So now hopefully having him for a full season, and obviously Robbie Anderson was a fantasy pickup towards the end of the year as well when guys started going down.
Yeah.
Anderson was a name that was on the waiver wire that you were looking to pick up. So obviously his performance as the year went on went well, and the Jets defense is always good. Not great, but they're good.
They have Jamal Adams.
Yeah,
that team is looking fine.
And now picking up C.J. Mosley as well up the middle. That's only going to help.
It's going to help, but I think it all comes down to Darnold. And like you touched upon, Coach, he's in his second year.
Yep.
This is the big rookie class is now in their second year. You got to see what happens. Josh Allen,
sophomore slump is a thing.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield. Josh Rosen. You can kind of see how quickly somebody can fall off. Darnold, we don't know what's going to happen, and especially the biggest X factor on that team is going to be Le'Veon Bell,
right?
Because how motivated is he going to be really to come back? Because you had all that drama in Pittsburgh, you sat out the entire year.
Yep.
You actually wound up making less money than you would have to stay and played in Pittsburgh,
right?
Which it is what it is. Now you're coming into a new team. Is that offensive line as good as the one you had in Pittsburgh? Debatable.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be the focal point of that offense, can you relieve enough pressure off Darnold that he can show some more growth in that second year?
My biggest thing is as long as the Jets defense can play well and keep them in games, Sam Darnold just doesn't have to lose them.
Right.
And you can go to you can go to an AFC Championship game with that strategy.
You can, but I think getting through the Patriots, it's going to come short.
No, I mean, with the way that the Patriots play now, which is totally different than it was 5-10 years ago, you have to be able to put up 30 points on them.
And I'm looking at the Jets' schedule. It's not going to be an easy test out the gate for them. They open week 1 against Buffalo at home. They're at home against Cleveland. They travel up to New England week 3. They have a bye in week 4. Week 5, they travel to Philly. Week 6, they play Dallas at home. Week 7, they play New England at home. Week 8, they travel down to Jacksonville. And then week 9, they travel down to Miami.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy stretch by any means.
Week 9's a W.
Oh, week 9. Yeah. Week 9 should be, but how wild is it with a new head coach?
Let's head to Miami right now.
I'll say, let's not forget, New England was supposed to win against Miami last season before you had the miracle, whatever it's called, I forget.
Yeah, well, this is not that Miami team. This Miami team is going to be very bad,
atrocious. I mean, Adam Gase is now with the Jets, so bringing in a new head coach with Darnold, I mean, it's going to be kind of a real issue there. But like we're touching upon, I think the worst team in the AFC East, bar none.
So bad.
It's gonna be ugly.
It's Miami.
So bad.
And no disrespect to any Dolphins fans, like we're just being real about it.
Yeah, I mean it's being honest. I mean you now have Josh Rosen.
Yeah,
in your second year.
He's not even
a starter.
No, ESPN.com has him listed as a second-string quarterback with Ryan Fitzpatrick starting.
Yeah, which I mean, how is that going to play out?
16 games of Ryan Fitzpatrick's up and downs are enough to make gray hair in my have me have more gray hair.
I mean, listen, Ryan Fitzpatrick is 3/4 of the way to starting for every AFC East team.
I mean, he's going to give you streaks where he's going to look phenomenal, and then he's going to give you streaks that he's going to look like, why is he an NFL quarterback?
He's going to hello Tampa Bay last year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Florida people already saw it last year in Tampa Bay. I mean, this is going to be a performance with less talent.
I have seen it firsthand.
Yeah. Yes, and you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, he's going to give you certain games that, like I said, he's going to look like an all-pro, and then certain games you're going to go, where was he throwing?
I had a buddy last year who drafted him for fantasy and was pulling his hair out weekly because, like Coach said, there were weeks that he looked like he was the best darn quarterback in the NFL, bar none. And then you'd turn around and it'd be like he's picking up a football for the first time.
Basically, Miami is playing for Tua or Jake Fromm right now.
Yeah, I mean, because
let's be real.
You look at their other starters. I mean, they got Kenyon Drake at running back, Kenny Stills a wide receiver, Devontae Parker a wide receiver, Albert Wilson, and then they picked up Dwayne Allen. But their names and they're serviceable. But
they got weapons, but you got to get somebody to get them the ball.
Yeah, you got to get them somebody to get the ball. And like we said, Fitzpatrick, you never know what you're going to get. It's a coin toss at best. And Josh Rosen, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's just being honest with it. I mean, Rosen, obviously, the divorce from Arizona has not been a good one.
Not at all.
No.
So he's coming in there with a little chip on his shoulder, and now that he's been beaten out for the position by Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, but I mean, if you get traded for and have the idea of I'm going to this team right now to take over and run it when, they let Tannehill go. You're thinking, all right, I'm going to come in and be the starter, and then you get beat out by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not to discredit Fitzpatrick in any shape, way, or form, but
let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Like, if you are being traded for by this team, so, and I mean, that just creates in the front office for Miami a bit of doubt what you have with him. I mean, luckily I think they traded a late round.
Yeah, they got
fourth round
pick.
Got
him very late.
So, I mean, that's not a big loss necessarily. And obviously next year, if they do get the first pick in the draft or even second, they're going to land a very good quarterback in one of the two names that I mentioned before. So, I mean, they have the weapons in place to at least turn the ship around. They got to get somebody at the helm to do it, though.
I mean, there's nothing but room for improvement. I mean, last year in total team defense, Miami was 29th in the NFL, and then on total team offense, they were 31st in the NFL.
Let's just say, Pat, that if the New England goes down and loses a game to Miami this year, that's a very bad sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Yeah.
I don't care if they are 16-1. They are 15-0 going into that game. If they lose in Miami this year, that is very, very, very scary.
I'll agree with you there.
It'll be very scary, but I will stand by this statement because I say this for every division. Division rivals, the bad teams get up, and the good ones, if they're at that stage, if they're like, let's say, for example, Patriots are 10-0 or whatever the case is by the time they play each other. At that stage, if Miami decides to step up and New England kind of takes it a little easy, because they always struggle in Miami.
Listen, if you don't think the hoodie is thinking about that loss last year,
I'm sure he
right
is.
now.
I mean, we don't got to wait long because Miami travels up to New England week 2.
Yeah.
And then New England doesn't travel down, or excuse me, no, New England travels down to Miami. I'm reading this wrong because I'm on the Miami Dolphins page on ESPN.com. New England travels down to Miami week 2.
Okay.
So it's early, get it out of the way. And then week 17, Miami travels up to New England. So they're going to have to play New England on December 29th.
If they aren't thrashing them by halftime of that week 2 game, there's cause for concern in New England.
I'll say we all remember, or some of us might remember, a couple years ago where New England played, the Washington Redskins, and had like 50 on them by halftime. And like the conversation on Monday was this really necessary? Is it running up the score? I think there's a chance that might happen given Belichick's long memory.
I mean, it should be 50-0 at halftime of this game.
Should be.
No way. No, I know division rivals. I grew up in an NFC East when any team, all 4 of them could have won the division. Every week your palms were sweaty. I'm breaking stuff over here. I'm getting so upset.
He's trashing the studio.
I'm telling you right now, if New England goes to Miami week 2 and loses this game, New England is not going to the Super Bowl. Lock that down.
Oh, we're gonna lock that in.
You cannot go on that game on week 2 with a healthy, fresh team and not put an absolute ass kicking on this team with how bad they are.
I'm saying they should.
They should.
But I'm just saying I don't rule it. Like, okay, in the percentage-wise, New England should win this 95%.
They should win, but they've also got a suspect history playing down in Miami. It's the facts.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's not out of the realm of thought, so I'm not saying it's going to happen. No, because I think New England thrashes them that week.
All right, where are these teams finishing?
I'm going with New England first, Buffalo second, the Jets third, and then the Dolphins last.
I agree. I think the Patriots, this is going to be their final run in the sun because I just think eventually Tom Brady has to fall off. So I think that they do win the AFC East division on this one.
I'll say people kept saying that last year, and the video somebody made keeps popping up on my Facebook, and it makes me smile every time.
Well, I'm just saying, if I'm saying Father Time is going to finally step in, I think now, because I just think back to when Peyton was on his roll in Denver, and he put up that MVP season,
right? And
then the next season he fell off, just physically, and just the arm strength wasn't there. I'm not saying this is a slight against Brady.
Yeah,
I mean, I respect Brady. I like him as a fan, but I respect him.
That Denver animal is a whole nother beast.
But I'm just saying, when Father Time is creeping up, and he is at that age, and it's just saying eventually it has to happen. Am I saying it's going to happen this season? No, but I think it's going to creep a little more.
The TB12 diet is real, and he will be forever. I mean, he might not retire till he's 50.
That's true.
With the way that this diet and exercise program's going for him, my God.
I mean, he could prove me wrong, but I'm not. But like I said, I think they win the division outright this year.
Yeah,
I think Buffalo will take second place, and I think they're going to be contending for a wild card.
Oof.
I don't think they're going to get the wild card.
I can see them contending for the wild card, but if they get the wild card, it's going to be some crazy last game shenanigans like it was a couple years ago.
Right. No, I think that this year Josh Allen and company will show growth. I think so too. I agree with that. I really do. And I think that they're going to come out the gate and they might surprise some people early. But I'm saying consistently, I just want to see Josh Allen not hurling defenders because he's going to do that one time and then he's going to go down very, very badly. Mm-hmm. And I will just hope that nobody is recording me when I'm watching that game, because if he does, I mean, Matt Barkley is the second string right now, which he has played well.
He's been serviceable.
He's been serviceable. But to make a run,
no.
I don't want to roll those dice on that.
No.
But I think if Allen can look the part and play the part, I think they'll be okay. And I think that they've made enough upgrades at the receiving core that they can make a contention. Not saying they're going to win it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to come up short, as much as it pains me to say it. For the Jets, I think they're going to get third by default.
Okay.
I think they'll be.
Yeah.
I think.
Wow.
I think that they'll be close with Buffalo, but I'll be honest. Darnold has not shown me enough that I put a lot of faith in him, and I think with Adam Gase as the head coach, I think that they're not going to gel right away.
They're not going to gel right away, and I think what it's ultimately going to come down to is Le'Veon's going to keep him in more games than they should be.
Right, I agree there, and I think eventually that luck runs out.
Yeah,
because Teams are going to start figuring them out mid-season if they don't figure him out early. Le'Veon, if he comes back and he's the Le'Veon of old, they should have a good year. But it all depends on his motivation and how he works with that line, because Pittsburgh tailored a great chunk of their offense to him.
Right.
The Jets are going to have to do the same, but I don't think the Jets have the same offensive line that Pittsburgh does, in my opinion.
No.
I think Pittsburgh has a better one.
Right.
So when you don't have a line, it doesn't matter who's running behind it. If you don't have a line, you're not going to do nothing. But it's not to say that Darnold isn't going to pull off some wins and they're going to contend. I just think they come up just short behind the Bills. And then Miami, it's going to be a long season if you're a Dolphins fan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's going to be rough. As a Bills fan, you know my stance on that as a heated rival. But
you're not shedding any tears.
I'm not shedding any tears, but for Miami, they need to find their identity with a new head coach and establish a rebuilding. And they're going to have to do that very quickly. This isn't going to be the season for it, and they're going to have to build through the draft next season, in my opinion. So I think the Dolphins are going to be contending for that number 1 pick.
So I agree with all that, except I'm flipping the Jets and the Bills.
How dare you?
You're dead to him now.
I don't know. I there's something about this Jets team that I saw in that early preseason game against the Giants. I know it was week 1 of preseason, but I saw something. I saw swagger with that team that we hadn't seen in a while. And not to say that it's going to be like, the Jets are going to finish 9-7, the Bills are going to finish 4-12.
Right.
Not at all. I mean, I literally think it might be the Jets are 9-7 and the Bills are 8-8.
Yeah,
this division is on the rise, minus Miami.
Yeah,
I agree with you. That's why I said I think the Jets are going to get third by default, because I see it happening like that. Bills 9-7, Jets 8-8.
It literally. I mean, they both might even finish 9-7. Honestly, I mean, it's realistic. So this division's on the rise. I mean, obviously, it's the Patriots to lose. Let's face it. It is what it is. But I think that there's something about the Jets right now that I like, and I think the Bills are right there. I honestly think that whenever Tom Brady steps down, this is going to be a 2-team race to see who's going to win the division every year.
Yeah,
especially with the 2 young quarterbacks that are there.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch this season. I mean, I'm super excited, not just because it's my team, but like you hit the nail right on the head. I think the AFC East is on the rise, and I think the Patriots are eventually going to come back to earth, but this season might not be the one. But it's going to be kind of interesting to watch, so I'm definitely excited for that. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts on the AFC East this season? We definitely want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What's up, nerds? I'm Rich.
And I'm Derek.
And we are 2/3 of the Three Fat Nerds podcast, but we'd like to take a minute of your time to kind of tell you what we do. So we have 2 shows on one channel every week. Derek, what's our first show?
Every Monday night, we record Three Fat Nerds. That's our flagship show where we talk about everything, movies, comic books, and gaming.
And then, of course, every Thursday evening, we record 3FNW, which is Three Fat Nerds Wrestling. And there we talk about pro wrestling. We do reviews of pay-per-views and talk about shows and the news and give our opinions on everything pro wrestling. You can find our podcast by searching Three Fat Nerds in any podcast provider, and bam, we're right there, and you can go ahead and subscribe. Or you can visit our website, 8122productions.com, and you can stream and download from there, as well as check out other things we have going on. Now, we're going to send it back over to Ken M. and the ODPH.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH, and we are giving you our NFL season preview, taking a trip down south, because we're going to break down the AFC South. Coach, why don't you kick us off?
So in last year's finish for this division, we had the Houston Texans in first place. We had the Indianapolis Colts finishing in second. We had the Tennessee Titans finishing in third, and last year bringing up the rear, shockingly, was the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we need to bring up some history. Didn't
Yes, we do.
What was it? The Jacksonville Jaguars specifically? What was it? Jalen Ramsey promised?
Jalen Ramsey decided to get on GQ interview and decided to call out every quarterback in the league and basically call his shot.
So we're going to go undefeated.
I like their swagger. I picked them to win. I
they
was wrong.
They finished 5-11.
Yeah, that blew up in my face.
And was basically with the New York Jets and then the Oakland Raiders tying for last place, that left the Jacksonville Jaguars with finishing in second to last place.
No, real gross. Real bad.
Yeah.
That blew up in a lot of people's faces.
A little bit.
A lot of people liked them.
Well, it all lived and died on Blake Bortles, and that was going to be the issue, as we said, going in.
What a mistake that was.
Well, you know what? He came off the previous season, and everybody thought it finally clicked in, and it was going to be the turnaround that Jacksonville needed. Because, I mean, their defense is solid, and their defense is going to be where their defense is going to be. Jalen Ramsey is an all-pro. Love him or hate him, he's going to ball out. And that defense steps up, and they're a nasty defense. Offensively, that is going to be the biggest question mark going. They did make the big splash and got Nick Foles out of Philadelphia.
Big deal.
Which
big
is
signing.
Huge. But after that, it all depends on Leonard Fournette. What condition is he going to be in this year?
And he's going to be the sole. I mean, no more TJ Yeldon either.
No,
I mean,
sole running back there.
I'll say listed, so the second string running back they have listed there is Alfred Blue, formerly of the Houston Texans, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yep.
So at that stage, he's going to live and die on him.
Yeah.
And he's literally going to be their offense. I mean, they do have their wide receiver core is coming back. I mean, D.D. Westbrook is there. Marquise Lee, I believe, is finally back from his leg injury from the year prior.
Yep.
So where they're going to kind of connect and how fast they gel with Folds is going to be another big question mark. So it's ultimately going to rely on Fournette to establish that run game and give Folds enough time to work with his receivers. Is this going to be enough to get him over the hump? That's the question with this team.
The biggest thing. I mean, obviously, Foles came in spot duty for Wentz last 2 years and played very, very well. So now it's going to be interesting to see what he does for an entire body of work over a 16-game season and what that means for him as far as the demand on his body. I mean, it's a lot different coming in Week 12 with a team that's 6-6 versus coming into a team that you got to play from Week 1 to Week 16.
Yeah, I mean,
17.
It all depends if he can handle that workload now again. Because before, where did he go?
That would be the St. Louis Rams.
Keyword St. Louis. This was back in 2015 when they were still in St. Louis.
And it felt good to say it.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't know how Folds is going to handle being the captain of the ship, so to speak, on this, because he had the nice playoff with Wentz, and when the situation in Philly worked out to be in his favor.
Yeah, it worked out well for him.
Yeah, and he had a really good line around him, and he had a really good receiving core and running back and everything, but he had everything going for him.
Very, very good wide receiver core.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So now we're going to have to see what happens there in Jacksonville, but they're going to have stiff competition. I mean, taking a look at the rest of the league in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know I mentioned the wide receiver core. I'd be remiss from Philly fans if I didn't mention Zach Ertz also there.
Yes.
Also helped very much in Philly. But, I mean, like you said, he's good. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl for Philly, but what are you going to get out of Jacksonville? I mean, yeah, Leonard Fournette is good, but is he going to hold up? Is he going to stay healthy? Marquise Lee is coming back from the leg injury. Leg injuries are a funny thing. It's like in a lot of sports. We talk about it with Kevin Durant in the NBA. What's he going to come back like? We don't know. D.D. Westbrook, can he repeat his success of last year? I mean, their starting tight end is listed as Jeff Swaim, and then they've got Dimitri Flowers listed as their fullback. I mean, no one's exactly jumping out to me in fantasy football drafts going, I got to get him now.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm talking about a guy, who's injured often, Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
You talk about a guy right now with a team in Indianapolis that is right there. If we're sitting here talking about Jacksonville and the improvement that they've made, I mean, the Colts were a very good team, and that was even without Andrew Luck playing the entire year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, imagine an entire year if he can stay healthy, which already right now there's already signs of him being injured, obviously held out the preseason, which is a no-brainer at this point with his history. But what is he going to be like? Is he going to be able to play the entire year? To me, that's the biggest question mark of this division. Because if he plays... and they ride the shoulders of Quentin Nelson to the promised land of winning this division, which you can because that man has broad shoulders. I'm just kidding. He's a guard. No, that doesn't matter. But anyway, if they can, play well and Andrew Luck can play well, this is a team that you have to like to win the division.
I mean, yeah, the biggest thing is his health, because as we sit here recording, the latest update we have, courtesy of Mike Wells from ESPN.com, says that his odds of playing Week 1 at the Los Angeles Chargers have decreased when Coach Frank Reich announced Tuesday that he will not be at practice this week. Quote, really no further updates. All we have right now is a combination of full speed movement and pain threshold, close quote. So, I mean, we're sitting here, we're through 2 weeks in the preseason, we're coming up on Week 3. This is when you really start seeing your starters get more and more play time, more and more reps, where you really should be starting to look at some of your game plan and your plays you're going to be using throughout the season, and your starting quarterback isn't practiced, hasn't played at all. he's not playing week 1.
No, Luck will not be playing week 1. And if he's not in that lineup, I mean, they do have Jacoby Brissett, who played well.
Yeah,
right.
He's
but
serviceable.
But he's serviceable.
But he's not going to win you the division.
No, he's not going to win that
no.
division. And if Luck's not ready to go and he's out for an extended period of time, the Colts season is not going to go well, in my opinion. Like, I think Brissett snuck up on a lot of people last season and really outplayed himself.
I mean, he had a couple games where he played very well, and he had a couple games where he played pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all about what Brissett you're going to get. Are you going to get the one that's going to play very well, or are you going to get the bad one?
Well, the first 2 games are going to mean a whole lot for them coming out the gate because we know how big divisional games are and how much they mean down the road at the end of the season. Week 1, they play the Chargers in Los Angeles. Week 2, they play the Titans in Tennessee. So coming out the gate right out the bat, you got 2 divisional games.
I mean, you might be 0-2.
Yeah, that's very true. And then week 3, they go and play Atlanta and then Oakland, and then Kansas City.
So 1-4.
Potentially.
It's potential. I mean, it's just being honest about it.
That's an uphill battle.
Because, I mean, you're going to have Marlon Mack as their starting running back. T.Y. Hilton, you know what you're getting on him. Eric Ebron, who had a monster year
Resurgence.
last year.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, getting out of Detroit. Might have been the best thing for him because he actually looked like a whole new player.
I mean, he looked like the tight end that was coming out of Miami that I was like, my God, this guy's an animal.
Right. So can he repeat that success, especially if Luck's not in that lineup? Hard to say, to be honest. But
I mean, his best games were with Luck in the lineup. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you right there.
Yeah, so if he's not coming out the gates, blazing, this could be a very long season for the Colts.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Well, I mean, as a Colt fan, if I'm sitting here and I'm like hedging my bet on the fact that my season literally rides on the bum shoulder of my quarterback, I am very, very worried.
Yeah.
Because any hit where he gets, I mean, even not pile drive, but kind of rid to the ground, he could land on that shoulder wrong and be done.
Oh, so yeah, you could have a situation where a defensive end or a linebacker comes running at him, hits him right after he throws, and just more forward momentum or whatever, knocks him to the ground. If he goes down the wrong way and extends his hand, you're in trouble.
I mean, I'm even thinking about the one where he comes and maybe he's turning and his head just dips down, that shoulder just spikes right in the ground. That's the kind of hit that I'm thinking about that will definitely dislocate your shoulder.
Yeah. And if that happens, it's going to be a short season for the Colts.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, now we got Houston here, a team that's also on the rise. Deshaun Watson, obviously, coming off of an injury as well. It's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from that.
Yeah.
Now, this is another year with another injury. Wide receiver-wise, I mean, they probably have the best wide receivers in all of the AFC South.
Yeah.
Will Fuller coming back from an injury. Hopkins,
Yeah,
that guy,
Hopkins.
heard of him? I mean, pretty good.
Yeah.
The defense, J.J. Watt anchoring that defense. No real big losses as far as, players that were really contributing. Obviously, Demaryius Thomas had a very, very brief stint before he was let go and then obviously found in New England. So, I mean, I personally, I like this team.
I like him. I like him if they can stay healthy. I mean, Hopkins is, like you said, he might be the best wide receiver in the entire league.
Yeah, I mean, a lot rides on Watson's shoulders.
But yeah,
I mean, that's huge.
It all goes through Watson.
Yeah.
If Watson can stay healthy and this team can make a deep run into the playoffs, even Super Bowl, I'll even go that far.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a contender. Why not?
They're a contender, but like I can't stress enough. If Deshaun Watson is not in that lineup, they're done.
No.
You want to talk about teams that live and die on their quarterbacks.
Yeah.
This is one. That defense, J.J. Watt, if he can stay healthy for an entire season too.
They just can't have him run more than 10 times a game. He's
Yeah.
not Lamar Jackson.
No.
You can't rely on him to contribute in the running game like that, like they did in years past. And he has to slide. You got to go down.
No, yeah, it's like you said. They're living and much like Indianapolis is with Andrew Luck. Houston is very much living and dying by their quarterback. With Deshaun Watson, because currently AJ McCarron is listed as their second string quarterback with Joe Webb as their third string quarterback. Like, okay, if Deshaun Watson goes down, you got to give me a coin because I have no god darn clue who's going to win this division.
Yeah, Webb could hop McCarron to get the job depending on what kind of offense they look to run.
I mean, look what happened last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they fell apart. They unraveled. Unraveled towards the stretch.
Yeah, they went from 0 to 100 in a real hurry.
Which is really interesting because, I mean, you talk about, again, with a team that if their quarterback just doesn't lose you the game, they can easily win the division with their defense alone. But they just can't afford to have their quarterback lose games for them. And I don't know if McCarron or Webb is that guy.
Right.
it's going to be a really interesting story to watch, because if Watson can carry him through, and if he can actually learn, to go down and not have to run so much, and just really transition into a pocket quarterback. If that's just maybe not so much a full transition, but just lessen on the running plays, just because that
it doesn't need to be a traditional drop back.
It doesn't need to. Just know enough to scramble, but know enough to go down when you need to go down.
Maybe less read options.
Yeah.
Just a few.
I think so. And then, rounding out this division, you got Tennessee.
Yeah, and looking over their, losses and additions, nothing really stands out for either end. Bringing in Ryan Tannehill now to back up Mariota, that doesn't push the needle for me. And their losses, though, Luke Stalker at tight end, and then Brian Arakpo as your defensive end, outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Big loss, because Arakpo can still go.
Arakpo's big. This is a team, though, like if we get some bizarro, timeline where Deshaun Watson goes down, Andrew Luck goes down, I could easily see Tennessee sneaking through. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight in the division for who's going to come out of it, but I can see Tennessee sneaking through this if Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck go down.
Yeah, they have and that's also, obviously, Jacksonville would still be right there, but yeah, they have an outside chance if those, magical things occur, but that's it.
And here's the thing, last year, if it wasn't for like a few early losses, they would have been right there contending for the division.
The one thing you have to know about Tennessee is not flashy.
No.
Tennessee is not going to catch you with like huge star players. The one thing they're going to do is grind out wins and grind out losses, because they're not flashy.
No.
They are going to just get bare bones, knuckles, just fight you to the bitter end.
Well, so just for some reference, week 1 in the preseason, they defeated Philly 27-10, and then they lost to New England in week 2, 22-17. Like, it's not blowouts. They're close.
They're close in almost every game. You don't really see them get blown out. And it all depends on Mariota. If he can stay healthy, we talk about another quarterback there, depending on what you're going to get out of him. I'm not fully sold on him that he's going to be the guy anymore. Just he's too injury prone.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The issue.
Yeah,
and
he's another guy who takes too many hits too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
They don't keep him upright, and if you're taking that many hits, you usually have a short career.
Right, and just for some reference, for the Houston Texans, some of their early games, they open at New Orleans on Monday Night Football. They play Jacksonville in week 2, Chargers in week 3, and Carolina in week 4. The Titans open against Cleveland in week 1. They play the Colts in week 2, Jaguars in week 3, and the Falcons in week 4. And then the Colts open against the Chargers in week 1, Titans in week 2, Falcons in week 3, and the Raiders in week 4.
So
that could be 1-4, 2-2, and 1-4.
Knockdown, drag out fight.
Yeah,
it can be wide open on this one. So, Coach, why don't you break down who's your division picks?
All right. So I have banking on Deshaun Watson staying healthy. I've got Houston finishing in first.
Okay.
I have Jacksonville finishing in second and winning my wild card. One of them, mind you. Then I'm going to go with Tennessee finishing third, and then rounding out the rear is the Colts, because I don't think Luck is going to stay in the entire year.
Pad?
Like I said, I'm gonna go with Coach, assuming Deshaun Watson stays healthy for the entire year. Houston's gonna win out the division, but if he doesn't, like I said, Lord knows what's gonna happen with this division. I'm gonna go with Tennessee finishing second in the division.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing third, just because yes, Nick Foles is a very good quarterback. I'm not gonna crap on the guy. He won a Super Bowl. But just with the parts he's got around him, not really sure what I'm going to get out of him. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Hey. And then finishing out in the fourth position is in the Indianapolis Colts, just because the entire talk the offseason has been, the injuries with Andrew Luck, and will he or won't he be ready for week 1? If we're at this point, he's not going to be ready for week 1, and we're going to be pushing into a few weeks.
I have to agree about Houston. I think Deshaun Watson is going to make that transition. I think that he's going to carry them and make a deep run.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're probably the easiest pick to take this division outright. They have too much talent on both sides of the ball. No question about that, looking at the rest of the division. I think Jacksonville is going to get that wild card too.
Hey!
I have to agree with you, Coach. I think Nick Foles is going to give some stability to that team that they haven't seen since Mark Brunell?
At least.
I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm digging.
Steve Young 2.0.
Exactly.
Ooh.
I think he's going to give him enough stability, and I think Leonard Fournette is going to show improvement. Now, how much improvement? To be determined. But I think we're going to see a different Leonard Fournette on this field, Can he stay healthy and be the workhorse back the entire season? I don't know.
He might miss a game or two, but that's not going to be as important as,
Right.
if Nick Foles misses a game or
Yeah,
two.
if Folds, I'm hoping there's no injuries for this because I really want to see him get his fair shake. He's shown so much improvement since he returned to Philly from St. Louis and his brief stint in Kansas City. He is now in a position where it's his team. Mm-hmm. You have weapons. They're going to fly under the radar, which I think is even better to him because if he can turn this around and he can make something happen here for Jacksonville, he's got the defense that'll keep him in every game.
And he does perform best when people are kind of counting him out and not really hedging bets with him. Look at the year they won the Super Bowl and Wentz went down. Everybody wrote that team off.
Yeah. So this is, I think, his year to make a run. I think they do get the wild card. Where they go from there, it really depends on how they match up. So I can't give a prediction further than that.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Looking at the rest of the division, you can honestly give me a coin flip. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck not in Indy, that's a whole different team.
Yeah.
I know it's terrible to think that way, but it's realistic.
It's honest.
Yeah, you honestly cannot sit here and not talk about his injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're there and they're very, very, on the forefront, I think, of the Colts fans.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that you have to sit here and you got to be like, yeah, I don't think Andrew Luck's going to play the entire year, so they're not going to win the division.
Right. So you legitimately have to think, okay, can this team really make a run without Luck? And can Brissett be the guy?
No.
Yeah. And I don't see enough offensive weapons on that side of the ball there that I think that they can make it work without Luck to make a deep run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't. And then looking at Tennessee, they have Derrick Henry, and that's great. But after that,
with one performance of Derrick Henry, God,
yeah, like I said, I'm not really sold on him being the guy that's going to turn that franchise around. I think he's an adequate running back, sure, but enough to really carry this team and really put up some points. Like I said,
if you like 3rd and 7, he's a great running back.
Yeah, But for Tennessee, they're going to scrap. Like I say, they will grind out wins. They'll grind out losses. It's not an easy win to beat them, and it's not going to be easy for them to win. I know I'm kind of going backtracking here, but this is what I'm saying.
I know. It's the truth,
but it's the truth. And I said Mariota doesn't scare me as a quarterback, and even if he goes down, Tannehill, I think, is in a better position to win in Tennessee than he was in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But is he going to be the guy to get him over the hump? No.
He has better weapons in Miami.
He might have better weapons, but he has a better running game to take some balance off.
Yeah. Hey, listen. They had some running backs with Tannehill, J.J., Frank Gore. They had some guys who could run the ball.
They had a few guys.
Yeah.
But I think, by that time, Gore was coming off San Francisco, and
he's in Buffalo right now. You're going to tell me that you're not looking forward to seeing him run the ball out there?
I think he's at that age in his career. He'll give some guidance, and he'll be somebody on 3rd down to really make some moves.
Yeah.
But are you saying he's the same guy that he was in Frisco?
Absolutely not. But I'm saying he was pretty damn serviceable in Miami.
He was serviceable, but like I said, was it?
What? He had like 300 or 400 yard games at like 35 years old and 2 ACL injuries.
I'll give you. Gore can play. I'll give you that.
Derrick Henry had 100 yard rush games, and it was because he had a 99-yard run against Washington?
Right. But what I'm saying is I think at this stage, Tannehill has a better running game. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Agree to disagree.
Yes. We all don't need to get along here on the panel.
Listen, you already followed all of my picks in our fantasy league, so we'll disagree on this one thing.
Oh, yeah, we could disagree about this.
Since we synced on everything else.
I know, it's scary. But definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts on the AFC South? We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk a little AFC North.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, giving you our NFL preview, and we have to talk the AFC North. Dare I say the most polarizing division in all the land?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to look at it. There's a lot of shakeup. Dare I say a possible changing of the guard per se?
I'd say so.
Because the
Question mark?
Because the team that has made the most hype.
Well,
This
hold on.
offseason-
Before we get there,
Oh, okay.
let's go with who finished where, and then we can go into how great Cleveland will be this year, okay? So last year we finished with the Baltimore Ravens finishing first out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
Cleveland and then Pittsburgh, actually. I'm sorry. Pittsburgh with that 9-6-1 ugly record.
Yep.
Then bringing up third was, go ahead, Ken.
The mighty Cleveland Browns.
And then rounding up fourth place was the Cincinnati Lonely Bengals. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Ken. Please explain to us how great Cleveland will be this year.
Okay, so this is where we're going to go with. Cleveland, if they actually had a kicker, probably would have made the playoffs last year.
Absolutely.
Yes. Dare I say, they grinded out some wins that arguably they shouldn't have had.
Yeah.
But as we discussed on last year's draft preview and post show, Baker Mayfield was the guy
Near and dear.
they needed. And everybody was like, well, I don't know if he'll make it. Everybody should say you should take Sam Darnold.
Too soft.
I mean, listen, we got to give the guy his due. He got the entire city free beer.
He is one of those charismatic,
polarizing
people that you either love him or you absolutely hate him.
And he rallies that fan base up.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I'm kind of neutral on the guy. Like, I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's a good quarterback.
I mean, I love him.
I think absolutely.
The moxie. I mean, we've gone over my
Yeah.
man crush on him many of times. I mean, he's tremendous.
Yeah, and
He does have a
especially
little one.
and especially for the void that LeBron left. I know we're talking different sports,
Right,
but
sure.
for a team that needed an identity as well as a city,
Yes, yeah.
Something to root for.
Baker has embraced the city. He wasn't complaining that I'm in Cleveland.
When everybody was trying to get out, he was like, "Get me in there."
He's like, I'm buying in.
yeah.
And he,
quote unquote, let's freaking go.
and then he is the guy that came in and changed the culture of the Browns.
And the mustache that he has right now is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's on point. I got to give him that.
But if you even think about this, I mean, GM John Dorsey has been the
Next
architect.
level.
Yeah, if you want to talk about people playing checkers and he's playing chess, he is on some light year stuff.
I mean, you look at where he came from, though, in regards to that. And I'm not shortchanging him or anything. I mean, that's a credit to where he came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
So thinking of that, though, and Pat, where did he come from?
New England.
Yes. So I will let you give your Patriots shout out there.
Hey, I mean,
But
listen,
it's
this
true.
guy's building a franchise. He's
Yeah.
not building a team. He's building a franchise.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
he's thinking long term. He's not thinking let's win right now. He's thinking let's win for the next decade.
Yeah.
And he's put the pieces in place because I will even take this, and Coach, I know I'm going to mention something that you don't want to hear,
Uh-oh.
but I'm going to say it. The fact that Odell Beckham Jr.
It was robbery.
Stop throwing things.
wound up going to Cleveland, and he wasn't complaining. Like, let's just say this. The stigma that you're going to the Browns and your season is done is gone.
Yeah.
Because of Baker and the job that team has done rallying around him. So to say that you had somebody that was a star player in New York that, was true blue through and through.
Hey, let's be real here. That trade was highway robbery.
Oh, I'll give you
To
that.
give
It was.
up a first round and
Yeah.
a third round for him? Come on.
I mean,
That's a
yeah.
no-brainer.
I mean, you think back to not even that long ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Going to Cleveland was like it was like putting you out to pasture. Like, thanks for playing, go have fun and miss the playoffs every year. But like you said, Baker and everyone in that team in that front office has changed the culture.
Well, and that's why I loved Odell. I loved Odell's comments the other day when he said that the Giants traded him out there to die.
Yeah.
Say it. Wear that chip on your shoulder. And I know, I'm on this Giants page on Facebook, and Odell, you're a crybaby. Why are you even bringing up the Giants? Because they traded you to play with your best friend. That you got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. No, wear that chip on your shoulder. Take that and own that, because you went from one of the media capitals of the world to this lonely town in Cleveland where they haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years.
Yeah.
They came close last year but still didn't make it because Cleveland and stuff happens and they end
Yeah.
up falling apart.
Yeah.
And, you go there and you say, oh, no, they traded me here to die, and I'm going to prove them wrong. Have that chip, wear that chip, because you know who has that chip with you? your damn quarterback does.
And you know what wouldn't surprise me is, like you said, he's got that chip on his shoulder. He wants to go out and prove not only the entire Giants front office, but I won't say most Giants fans wrong. I would not be surprised if he goes out and has a career year.
I'm not doubting it, but I'm hedging my bets a little bit.
Sure.
Because I am not fully buying in and saying, okay, pencil them into the Super Bowl.
Right, no.
By everything that they've set up.
Agreed.
Everything they've set up, they're a team that has a lot of hype behind them because on paper, they look the part.
On paper, they look like the best team in the NFL.
Without question. Nick Chubb is one of the most underrated running backs.
Agreed.
Coming in. And obviously, adding Kareem Hunt, and we don't know what that mix is going to be.
And whatever it is. But, I mean, adding him to the mix.
Well, don't forget they got Duke Johnson, too.
Yeah.
No, Duke Johnson got traded.
In
okay.
Houston.
He's in Houston now.
But whatever. I mean, either way, though, I mean, they Chubbs, Hunt, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Njoku, and Baker Mayfield. Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, wrap your head around that. And then you talk about the defensive side of the ball, where they got Olivier Vernon in that trade with the Giants, who obviously, played by himself last year. He didn't have anybody else on the other end to help not get him double teamed. And now you're playing with one of the best defensive ends in Cleveland in the NFL.
Yeah, with Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett. I mean, you're going to now, all right, let Myles Garrett get all the focus because Olivier Vernon's going to make the Pro Bowl this year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Oh, without question. If everything falls the Browns' way, and like I say, as far as of right now, as we are recording, it has.
Yeah.
If they can continue this, no major injuries and no complete, internal bust up.
Sure.
Like if they come out the gate and let's say they're 2-2.
Sure.
I think they'll be okay. If they start out 1-3, not saying they're going to, but let's just say hypothetical. This is where you're going to kind of see how is Odell going to handle it? How is Baker going to handle it? I think they'll be fine. Like I think Baker is going to rally that team. That
I think
they'll be
1-3 is not a big deal. I think if they're like going into their bye week and they're like whenever that bye week is and they're 1-5 or 2-5, then that's an issue.
I got their schedule up here. The Cleveland Browns open up against the Tennessee Titans.
W.
They go into the Jets and play them week 2.
Ooh, okay.
Week 3, they play the Rams at home. Week 4, they travel to Baltimore. Week 5, they travel to San Francisco. Week 6, they play Seattle at home, and then they have a bye week in Week 7.
So exactly, if they go in 2-5 to that bye week, then I think you got cause for concern. But if they're 3-4, or the vice versa of that 4-3,
yeah, because
got nothing to worry about.
Because the biggest issue is right now everybody is crowning them that they're going to run away with the NFL.
Oh, for sure.
No. Well, yes, they're doing that, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
You can't forget they got a first-time head coach. That's the other thing that nobody's talking about. You have a first-time head coach coming in and now stepping into coaching. This is like when Eric Spoelstra came in, and I know we're talking another sport, but this is when he came in and coached the Big Three in Miami.
Yeah.
And it was all of a sudden like, who the hell is this guy coming in to coach this team?
And Cleveland coming out of the bye week doesn't have it any easier. They travel to New England week 8, Denver week 9, Buffalo week 10, Pittsburgh week 11, Miami week 12. They go to Pittsburgh in week 13.
That week 8 game's got a lot riding on it. 'Cause that will tell you where they are as far as being a Super Bowl competitive team.
I'll say, when does the Sunday Night Football flexing start? What week?
Week 7.
Week 7, yeah.
That's week 8. That it currently is listed as a 4:25 game on CBS. I would not be surprised if that gets flexed into Sunday night based on how the season goes.
I wouldn't doubt it, but I'll tell you what, the game I have circled as a litmus test is week 4.
Yeah.
Them at Baltimore.
Yeah.
Because no, I still do, because Baltimore, like, listen, Lamar Jackson.
Fantastic segue, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. That's why we get paid the big bucks here on the ODPH. But this is what I'm saying. With Lamar Jackson, he is going to come in there. It's now his team. Joe Flacco is in Denver. And
so what you're saying is Robert Griffin isn't going to make a run at the starting job.
Right. This is definitely his team. And John Harbaugh is still steering that ship. They still have a nasty, nasty defense.
Yeah, that is true. If there's one consistent thing about the Baltimore Ravens, their record might not be consistent, but darn it, that defense is.
Let me remind you of one thing from last year with that team.
Okay.
Los Angeles Chargers divisional round playoffs. Lamar Jackson won for like infinity.
That's true.
With 13 yards.
Yeah.
That's
very true.
pretty bad the last time I checked.
But he does have some weapons, so we'll see what growth he has. But I'm saying,
they got Miles Boykin, who was my sleeper in the draft, mind you. I had said that, and they love him out of training camp. But that's not enough.
I'll say he's got some decent targets, too. I mean, he's got Mark Ingram at the running back, Willie Snead at wide receiver, Marquise Brown at wide receiver, and then he's got Mark Andrews at tight end.
Mark Ingram is good for vulturing tight end touchdowns from your number one running back. That's what Mark Ingram's good at. So at the end of the day, that doesn't worry me.
No, they still have Kenneth Dixon on there too. If Dixon can stay healthy, I mean, it should be a serviceable 1-2.
I like their defense, but the problem is, and again, we go back to this, quarterbacks, when you have a defense like Baltimore does, quarterbacks need to win you games, not lose them. And Lamar Jackson, as great as a talent and as versatile as he is, can lose you games.
Yeah, I mean, well, they don't exactly have the toughest test out of the gate in week 1. They're traveling to Miami in week 1. Week 2, they play the Cardinals at home, and then week 3, they play Kansas City in Kansas City before welcoming the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore.
Yeah, I think that Baltimore can be very, very good and could be a team that pushes Cleveland, but I still give the nod to Cleveland.
No, they're going to be serviceable, and that rivalry is very, very intense between Baltimore and Cleveland. Granted, it's not Baltimore and Pittsburgh that's been of recent years, but Baltimore is going to be serviceable enough. And then with Pittsburgh, as we're going to segue to that,
whoa,
bam, hitting you with them. Whoa. Pittsburgh, dare I say, is going to have the biggest sigh of relief of any team this season.
Pittsburgh is going to be like that team that, from a bad marriage that just got a really nice divorce settlement. Yeah. That's what Pittsburgh's going to be, baby.
They already got that sigh of relief going right now.
Oh, they do, but it's going to carry through in the season. I think you can say what you will about the offseason, but now that they're going to be back to Pittsburgh football.
Stella got her groove back. It's going to be the Steelers got their groove back.
Yeah. This is going to be Roethlisberger's team without the distractions of Antonio Brown.
A full slate of James Conner.
Yeah, a full slate of James Conner, taking the running back position away from Le'Veon Bell.
No questions.
Who took his ball and went to New York with it.
Yeah.
And then you take a look at Juju Smith Schuster, rather. I'm sorry. He is now going to be the number one guy there.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
He's going to be the number one guy, but at the same token, whoever is there at the other starting wide receiver position is going to have to step up, because as it stands right now, early in the season, Juju's going to get those double teams, and so the other guys are going to have to step up and ball out just to kind of alleviate some of the burden and go, okay, listen, we can't double Juju all game. These other receivers are burning us.
Well, they have Dante Moncrief, who, I mean, he's a decent number 2.
Yeah,
he's serviceable number 2, especially with a very good quarterback in Big Ben. We'll be all right.
Yeah, and they have James Washington too, who he looked good in the preseason.
Yeah,
so they do have weapons. I mean, Pittsburgh is one of those teams like the Patriots that can find talent out of nowhere,
plug and go.
And
that's all it is.
And their wins aren't pretty, but they're wins.
No, they're wins. So you have to think about that when you're facing them, and they still, in my opinion, are solid on both sides of the ball, and I think that they're going to contend. And for Cleveland, I know everybody says are already penciling them in for the Super Bowl. You have to get through Pittsburgh too.
I mean, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
As Ric Flair says.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's first month of the season is real interesting. Of course, they open in New England on Sunday Night Football in Week 1. Week 2, they play Seattle at home. Week 3, they travel to San Francisco, and then Week 4, they play Cincinnati at home.
Yeah, so Pittsburgh, they have a chance. I mean, they are one of the elite teams. And I still think, even though they lost AB and even though they lost Le'Veon Bell, they're going to be fine.
I'm telling you, it's literally a divorcee coming off of a bad divorce, just with freedom now.
Yeah,
they're going to come out playing so loose and so relaxed. This is going to be a Pittsburgh team that, like 2014 that went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of Pittsburgh team that you're going to see.
Yeah, and I think if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you have to be ecstatic about the season.
Oh, for
you
sure.
You have to be chomping at the bit.
The lack of distractions is definitely going to play a big part into how good they are this year.
Because you don't see that on Pittsburgh. You see that more on Cincinnati than you do on Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And if we're going to look at that team, I mean, they are now going through a new era with a new head coach.
For the first time in 17 billion years.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Marvin Lewis is no longer
My God.
head coach. So now you still have your offense in place, albeit, though, A.J. Green did have an injury.
Yep.
That we don't know necessarily when he's going to be popping back in.
Mm-hmm.
Because anytime you're talking wide receiver and they injure an ankle or leg, it's tricky to try predicting recovery time.
You got to be real careful.
So, and obviously the Bengals are going to be very smart about this.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to rush him back by any means. And they still do have 2 serviceable wide receivers with Tyler Boyd and John Ross. Mm-hmm. So they'll be okay at that position.
Yeah.
And Andy Dalton, you know what you're going to get from him at this stage.
They also still have Tyler Eifert at the tight end position.
Right.
Also coming back from an injury, though.
But-
also a Notre Dame guy. But he
but-
can't. He's the Andrew Luck at tight ends.
Yeah.
That guy gets breathed on and gets injured.
Yeah, so right there, you don't know what you're going to get out of him.
I was just going to say, my biggest thing is Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
To me, with a new quarterback, with a new coach coming in, a new system, this is really a make or break year for you. Because if this team finishes bad, and I'm saying like top 10 bad, so they're looking at Herbert and they're looking at Tua and they're looking at Fromm. This is a very, very interesting draft depending on where the Bengals finish.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they got quarterbacks of the future looking right in front of you, and you got a probably almost 30-ish year old quarterback in Andy Dalton that's in a new system with a new guy who's probably going to look and want his own guy and is running his own system.
I'll say Andy Dalton ain't exactly going to be looking over his shoulders on Sundays. He'll be looking over his shoulders on Saturdays.
Yes, he will. He doesn't have to worry about it right now, but he's in. I would compare it to Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
He's very much in that situation right now.
I think it's a fair statement.
So the footsteps are coming up close behind him.
I mean, with the new head coach, Zach Taylor, he's going to definitely implement a different style that they're used to in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
If Dalton can adapt to it, and if Joe Mixon can give him some breathing room at the running back position,
Who is a very good running back.
he's a good running back but another one. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a common theme for NFL teams. It just depends on who gets the luck of
But I
staying
mean,
healthy.
the biggest thing though is with Mixon, if he's not healthy, they can survive.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Bernard as the backup there, and they'll be okay. And their defense, that's going to be another big question mark, too, because Marvin Lewis was the defensive guy.
And they lost their biggest linebacker in Vontez
Burfett. Yeah,
Brissett. Yeah, Brissett. Yeah, that's a big loss.
So it's going to be a really interesting landscape now with the AFC North.
I'll say that Cincinnati's first month of the season, they open at Seattle week 1. They play San Francisco at home week 2. Week 3, they travel to Buffalo. And then week 4, they travel to Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football.
So, Coach, give us your picks.
All right. So, in first, I mean, I did it. I'm going Cleveland.
Okay.
First place. I mean, I think that there's too much talent on this team to not win. Now, I know that there's a first-year head coach and there's some things that they got to work on, but I think Baker Mayfield will win them games and will them to win games. Second place and winning my other wild card, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then really, Baltimore is going to be right there in the mix. I've got them finishing third, and then, Cincinnati drafting in the top 10 and taking Tua.
I've got Pittsburgh finishing first, and I've got Cleveland finishing second. But what I think it's going to come down to is they're going to split the season series. They'll each win one, and I think that's going to play a factor into it come the end of the season in some bizarre fashion. So I got Pittsburgh first, Cleveland second, Baltimore finishing third, and I got Cincinnati finishing in last place and not improving from their record of 6-10 last year. I'm going to say 5-11, 4-12.
I have Pittsburgh winning the division.
How dare you?
Oh, I know it's a scary, Coach. And to give you listeners at home an idea, we did not talk about this list before we came in.
No.
Not at all.
No, so this is all, everybody did their own list, and we have not seen
That's why I'm so offended right now.
I think you also remember from last year when you picked
Cleveland
to go all the way.
Thank
you.
you.
Go to the playoffs, and you got burned on that.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, but how dare you, Ken, from last year to this year, now you shun them?
Oh, I don't shun
He's
them.
not shunning them.
No, you picking them to win the wild card is still shunning to me.
No, well, I am picking them to win the wild card.
You better.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely picking them to win the wild card. But I think Pittsburgh is too good right now, and I think that they're going to be back to normal Pittsburgh football.
Now that they've got all the Le'Veon and the Antonio Browns and all the chatter around them out of their heads and out of their immediate area, they can breathe and just play football.
Something that I probably should have reminded everybody and brought up too, though, is when James Conner went down, this wasn't the same team.
That's true.
No, it wasn't.
So he's got to stay healthy,
that's
which
true.
he could not do last year.
But on a week-to-week basis, the questions from reporters both locally and nationally won't be,
Right. Yeah.
What's going on with Le'Veon Bell? Have you heard from Le'Veon Bell?
James Conner went down. Is Le'Veon going to come back for this week?
Come back? It's going to be, hey, what's your game plan for Cincinnati this week?
Right.
What's your game plan for Los Angeles this week?
So once you factor all that in, like I say, Pittsburgh is going to get back to Pittsburgh football.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland is going to be right there with them. I feel that they're going to win the wild card. I think Baker is definitely that person that Cleveland needed, and I think he's enough to get them to a wild card, without question. Looking at the rest of the division, Baltimore, I think, is going to wind up in third. Lamar Jackson, like I said, they'll contend. They'll be in the race for the wild card as well, but I think they're ultimately going to come up short by a couple games.
I think it's the same thing as the AFC East.
Yeah.
I think it's two teams that easily, with the Steelers and not Cleveland, could finish 9-7 with Baltimore and Pittsburgh and be neck and neck with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on Lamar Jackson and if he has progressed enough to keep winning games rather than, having those disappearing acts like we talked about with the Chargers in the playoffs.
That was abysmal. That was
Right.
bad.
So it all depends on him and what he can will that team to do. And like I said, he's not a Baker Mayfield type charismatic, but he can definitely play. No question of that. It just depends, can he elevate his game enough to carry them over the hump? I don't think it's this season, but not to say we won't see some improvement out of him, because I think we will. And then with Cincinnati, losing A.J. Green, that dropped them for me.
Yeah.
That I thought that, okay, new head coach, new style, just everything new would kind of work with them. But obviously you lose A.J. Green, you're asking a lot from Boyd and Ross. Is it enough? Not this season. I just don't think it is.
Yeah.
But I think that we'll see. They'll be a good second half team.
Yeah.
I think the start is going to be rough. I really do. I mean, they got to travel to Seattle to open up. With Frisco, you don't know.
I mean, we'll get to them, but
we'll
that's
get to
a
them.
huge question mark.
Then they got to go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with that one. And then they got to go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of thought to say they're going to start out 0-4.
No, not at all.
It's not out of the realm.
No.
And I think that obviously when you lose A.J. Green, that's a huge target that Andy Dalton has always looked for. So
It's a lot of catches and a lot of yards you got to make up for.
Yeah. Yep. Are the other guys ready to step up and do it, especially with a new offensive philosophy? Jury is out. But I think ultimately they're going to come up short. I think they will be drafting very high. And would a quarterback be out of the realm of thought to get behind Dalton for a couple of seasons? No.
A couple seasons. It'll be a year.
It'll be a year,
Yeah.
but I'm old school in my thinking.
Oh,
on that.
okay.
So we'll just allude to that. But the AFC North is going to be the one I think generates the most headlines, without question.
Probably.
Without question. And I think for the right reasons. Not so much the drama that's been there, but I think it's going to be ultimately one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive division in all of the NFL. Quote me on that. But let me know what you think. Hit me up on the hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts on the AFC North? We're going to come back and talk a little AFC West here on the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour.
2, 3, 4.
What's up, nerds? And my name is Rich.
And I'm Derek.
And together we're 2/3 of the Three Fat Nerds podcast, and we're here to tell you about a convention that we are actually sponsoring in Oneonta, New York. On October 4th and 5th in Oneonta, New York at the Oneonta Foothills Performing Arts Center, Sci-Fi and Horror Fest will take place. And at Sci-Fi and Horror Fest, you can see Courtney Gaines, star of Children of the Corn.
And the paranormal heartthrob, Dustin Para.
And of Jill Whitlow, who is in a movie that you really like, right?
The greatest comedy of all time, Mask. How did he fit into that Dodgers cap?
Of course, there's be a ton of more other people. Of course, our friend Rusty Gilligan will be there.
Len Oddity will be there.
And of course, our favorite MVPs of Sci-Fi Horror Fest, Freestyle Confections, giving you all those tasty treats. All that and so much more. Tickets start at $10 for the weekend, $6 for one day. You can get your tickets at sci-fi-horrorfest.com, and please follow them on Facebook, Sci-Fi Horror Fest. We hope to see you in Oneonta on October 4th and 5th for Sci-Fi Horror Fest.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, we're breaking down the AFC NFL preview. The season is fastly approaching, but we have one more division to talk about in the AFC, and that is the AFC West.
Yep.
Now, Coach, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so last year we had a very competitive division last year in
Oh,
the
yeah.
AFC West
with
Kansas City barely edging out the Los Angeles Chargers for first place.
We'll say they were both 12-4, so they got into those. Oh, if they both finish with this, then we got to look at their
point spread and
Yeah.
at home record.
Yeah.
So Kansas City finishing first, Los Angeles finishing second. Then we had the Oakland Raiders finishing in third, with Denver bringing up Denver brought up
there you
third,
go.
Oakland brought up the rear in fourth place.
Yes.
So taking a look at this, Kansas City was the fantasy football franchise you wanted to be a part of last
I
year.
was like, people were real happy when they picked Patrick Mahomes as their starting quarterback.
I
Like
mean,
this guy.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I saw it plenty of times.
Yeah, Mahomes looked amazing. I mean, granted, I wasn't as mad that Buffalo decided to trade the pick that ultimately Kansas City got him at, but it worked out in our favor too because we got Josh Allen. But
The same thing.
well, if whoever wins the
Time will
championship
tell.
first, yes.
Time will tell.
I have to tell that to myself.
All right,
I
you gotta
cope-
make yourself feel better.
So I cope with that.
I get it.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is his name. Okay.
Oh, we'll get to that next episode.
Yeah, I know.
But going back with this, I mean, Andy Reid had his arguably best season he's ever had in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, what
There's
a
no
coach.
arguably about it. He did.
Yeah, what a coaching resurgence he
Yeah,
had. I mean,
yeah.
obviously the year before they were very good too. Alex Smith played very well for them with Mahomes sitting the
Yeah,
bench.
yeah.
And then to take in Mahomes and turn this offense around, because this was not a traditional Andy Reid offense.
No.
They played at a much quicker pace with a lot more spread than what Andy Reid is used to. And, I mean, they gave Patrick Mahomes freedom, which is the biggest thing I think that he needed, because he
Yeah.
needs to play that way.
Oh yeah, without question.
Oh, yeah. No doubts there.
Yeah, so this is one of those teams that did they do enough to address the defensive side of the ball? I mean, the offense is going to be the offense. And obviously, you still got Travis Kelce, arguably the best tight end in the league. Patrick Mahomes, if he can repeat his performance, I think anybody will be extremely happy with that. So you kind of really have to sit back and go, okay, what else are you bringing to the table? I don't know defensively if they've done enough. That's going to be, the jury is still out on that one. Is it enough that they can win the West? I think so, because when you got Patrick Mahomes playing the way he is, you can't argue that. And you will be in every game until he cannot play.
I mean, obviously they picked up Alex Okafor, who is a very good pass rusher, and then on the back end they got Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. I like it. I mean, I like those pickups. Those are the positions of need that obviously they had one of the best safeties in the game in Eric Reed, prior to. Unfortunately, another guy who can't stay healthy, so they make the move to the Honey Badger. And I mean, really, with Alex Okafor as a defensive end, now I think they have the pass rush that they didn't have before. Interior-wise, defensive tackle-wise, they had a very good run-stopping team. Not a lot of teams were rushing on them. But you can't rely on those guys to get to the quarterback. And that was the biggest thing in the AFC Championship game, and they were breaking that down during the game tape. When you're looking to get up the middle pressure, eventually it takes too long. You're talking 4 or 5 seconds, and Tom Brady's going to dissect you in that time.
Well, let's not forget Tony Romo calling the plays from the booth in the final stretches there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Tony Romo's commentary is spot on, but with what they're bringing to the table, I mean, who's to say they're not going to do it again?
I think they'll repeat as division champs, but I don't think they'll repeat the same offensive success they had last year. They'll have a very good offensive year, but I don't think they'll repeat like they had the success they had last year, because I think last year they averaged 35.3 points per game, which was number one in the entire NFL. Second place was the LA Rams with 32.9 points per game. The only thing that I think we can compare that to was in 2007 when the New England Patriots averaged 36.8 points per game. Now, you can't look at 2008 because that was a year where obviously Brady was injured and didn't play more than like a quarter of football. So you jump to 2009, which was his next full season there. New England finished in 6th place with 26.7 points per game. And then you flip it on to the offensive side. Of course, he won the MVP in the 2007 season with 4,806 yards passing, 50 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Good for the number one overall in the entire NFL. 2009, he finished with 4,398 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Yes, I think Mahomes will have a good offensive year, but I don't think it'll be as good as it was last year because defenses will have figured him out.
Well, I mean, I don't think there is any figuring out this guy because he's so dynamic and so versatile that, I mean, obviously Madden created a whole package for him in the video game to show the way that he throws the ball because he can throw it at so many different angles. And the guy has a cannon that's only been rivaled by Uncle Rico. I mean, let's face the facts here. I mean, this guy can throw the football a damn mile. I mean, so I don't think there's any way that you can game plan for it. You just got to hope that you can prevent it. My biggest problem is that Kareem Hunt's gone.
Yeah.
And they were, after that whole thing, a different team when he was out.
Yeah.
And that versatility and playmaking and the ability that he had to get open to help Mahomes, as much as Travis Kelce is, probably arguably now the best tight end in football with Gronk gone, he can only do so much without a run game. And if you don't have a run game to balance your offense, you can't win games. Even for as great as the Patriots have been, they're still able to run the ball.
Yeah.
And that's what is missing right now. And, they brought in Carlos Hyde to try and fill that void, but I mean, right now they have him listed as the third-string running back. Might not even make the cut.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year, he had 172, this being Carlos Hyde, had 172 rushing attempts with 5 touchdowns, averaged 3.3 yards per carry, and his longest run was 22 yards.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Damian Williams, who they've got listed at their number 1 running position, he had 50 running attempts, 256 yards, 4 touchdowns, and his average was 5.1 yards per game.
It
It
seems that Kansas City, I mean, they're going to have running back issues, but they're not going to be the only team in the AFC West that does. I mean,
No.
take a look at the formerly known as San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers, who I picked to win the whole thing last year, and thanks to an abysmal performance in New England, that did not happen. There's no fronting about
They should have
that.
never flown home. They should have just stayed in the East Coast and went to New England after they beat Baltimore. But whatever.
Yeah, so taking a look at that team, Melvin Gordon is in a nasty contract dispute that we talked about in last week's sports episode.
I should actually mention I like to call them the Los Angeles Fighting Irish.
Well, there you go.
With the drafting of Jerry Tillery and my boy Drew Tranquil.
Yeah, coaches might have to adopt him.
Hey, listen, I am absolutely rooting for Los Angeles. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to be enough, Notre Dame talent to carry this team to, prominence.
It's going to be interesting.
So what you're saying is Rudy isn't walking through those doors at any time, right?
No. I mean, listen, on the real, though, I mean, obviously this is a very good team, and they're coming off of a very good year. It's just the problem is that they won a lot of games close.
Yeah.
A lot of games close. And any of those games could go the other way. So if that's the same thing happening this year, just by virtue of probability, those games might go the other way. And instead of being 12-4, they're 8-8.
There's so many different directions they can go in, but you still have Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
And he's still slinging the ball.
Yep.
And he has not shown any sign of drop off.
It's crazy, too, because he's playing, he's elevating.
Yeah.
In these recent years. I mean, before it was like, you were going to get, maybe 30 to 40 touchdowns a year from him, but you were also going to get probably 15 to 20 interceptions.
Yeah.
Now I feel like you're going to get 30 touchdowns, but you might only get 7 to 8 interceptions in a year.
Yeah, he's been playing smarter. And you can definitely tell, and it's the system that their head coach has implanted there.
Yeah.
I'll say they got a very easy schedule coming out the gate. Week 1, they open against the Indianapolis Colts. Week 2, they travel to Detroit. Week 3, they play the Houston Texans. And then Week 4, they play the Miami Dolphins.
So coming out the gate, they should contend.
Yeah.
And they should have a pretty good start, even without Melvin Gordon there.
Yeah.
Because I believe their backup's going to be, Austin Elker?
Yeah, and he played very, very well late in the year.
Yeah, and they still got Justin Jackson, too, there, too. So,
That's why there's no rush for them to bring Melvin Gordon back to camp, because they're like, we got Elker right here.
So they've also got a stellar receiving core.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Travis Benjamin, too. And plus, if Hunter Henry...
Travis Benjamin.
Yeah, I'd say he can even balance out, too.
Yeah.
They have enough weapons on that offensive side of the ball. Even with Hunter Henry coming back off that ACL injury.
Right.
That now is the hype reel behind him, because they don't have Antonio Gates, who has always been the security blanket out there.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can't speak enough to a guy that has chemistry built with a quarterback the way that Antonio Gates did with Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
So that would be very interesting to see. I mean, obviously they played a few years without each other, but Gates wasn't the same player without him.
Right.
And Rivers wasn't the same player without him either.
So it all depends on if Henry can fill that void. I think either way, the Chargers are going to contend. And like Pat was touching upon, that they should come out of the gate pretty hot.
Yeah.
Can they maintain? Because they've already had some injury bugs on the defensive side of the ball. So that being said,
that's where it was tough. Like when I was filling out who I thought was going to win, these wild card positions, because obviously Kansas City's going to win the division. There's too much talent there to not. So when I was filling out that, it was really, really difficult to leave Los Angeles off of this list because they are so good. Ultimately, there's only 6 spots.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they can do it. And like I said, Los Angeles has looked good.
Yeah.
But can they maintain this? Because they don't have to really worry about any other teams catching them in the division, in my opinion. We take a look at Denver, who is in a very big transition phase.
Huge.
And before we even get to because I looked at their schedule, and my God, apologies to Denver fans, this is not going to be easy out the gate. We'll get to their acquisitions in a minute. They might have, at least because I haven't looked at all the teams' opening schedules yet, thus far, they've got the hardest opening month of the season. Week 1, they open at Oakland on Monday Night Football. Week 2, they play the Chicago Bears at home. Week 3, they travel to Green Bay. Week 4, they play the Jacksonville Jaguars at home before they play the Chargers in Los Angeles, and then the Titans at home in Week 6.
So looking at that, Denver doesn't have anything easy going for them.
No, they could easily be 2-4.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco is now the starting quarterback. They drafted Drew Lock, who will eventually take over the team, you would think.
And he's
but
hurt right now, so he's not even practicing.
Right.
Yep.
The surprise fantasy pick of last year was Philip Lindsay.
Yeah.
Who came out of nowhere.
Yep.
And he's going to be leading the running back core, which, I mean, with Denver, they've always been able to plug in anybody, it seems, and they'll make it happen at the running back position. And then you got Emmanuel Sanders coming back from a leg injury, and I mean, honestly, they're not doing enough to scare you on the offensive side of the ball. Defense is still Von Miller's team.
It's gonna be a long year, no matter what way you shake it. I mean, it's tough right now because you want to see AFC West rivalry that's there with all these teams. I mean, these are all heated rivalries as far as, especially being, on the West Coast. We don't get to see it very often, but I mean, they are. I mean, the Denver-Oakland rivalry is of legends.
Yeah.
And now these are two teams that are going to be fighting for, a top 5 pick.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out because Denver, they have to contend, but I think that they're probably looking at Oakland's situation and going, well, it could be worse.
I mean,
put it
for
mildly.
sure.
I mean, Coach, I'll let you kick this one.
Yeah, I mean, Oakland's a mess. Well, what else can you say? I mean, Antonio Brown's helmet gate, that whole situation, which, I mean, honestly, now with more stories coming out that they did find a helmet that technically should have qualified and the NFL still just, didn't allow it.
Right. They tested it. It failed to test. And now the latest we've heard is that Antonio has filed for another grievance with the NFL to allow him to use the helmet. And his arguing this time is that other players in the past were allowed a grace period where they could wear the old helmet before they had to switch to a new one. And that's his argument. We haven't heard anything about the development off of that arbitration hearing, if it has occurred yet or not. But if we do, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, which sucks. I mean, because he is the only one player that's lost this. But at the end of the day, it is player safety. And I mean, let's face it, it's not a helmet that made you great.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it was either Matthew Berry or somebody said, where's the kid that came out of Northern Illinois? That
Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen. Yeah, that was a great quote because where is that Antonio Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the biggest question because all of a sudden, over the course of a year, we went from Antonio Brown, who was happy to be in Pittsburgh and really, you almost want to say the face of the franchise.
Really didn't complain too much.
Yeah.
Coming out of nowhere to being one of the best wide receivers in all of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Right. To now, what happened?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he just kind of bought into his own hype. I don't know if it's like people around him that kind of really, are telling him to act this way, that, he didn't want to get showed up. I don't understand.
It's all weird. It's unfortunate because it's a generational talent that you're watching basically just fall, unravel, know?
I mean, it's just one of the weirdest situations to see just how you go from playing with Ben Roethlisberger and you have a great thing going in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
To now you couldn't go there, and then you were like, okay, I demand to be traded. You almost got traded to the Bills. And then you're screaming, oh, no, I'm not going there. So then they finally send you to Oakland, where you're like, it seems like everything's happy and everything's going to work and everything's going to be great. And then it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's pointing fingers at each other. And then it's all about my helmet. And then it's all about my frostbite. And then...
Well, not even to mention, I mean, just the whole situation in Oakland is very awkward. I mean, Gruden get brought back in from doing commentary to being the head coach and still trying to coach the same way that he did 10 years ago, which doesn't work in today's NFL. I mean, unfortunately, the days of being a taskmaster and being that, I have my thumb on everything, that coaching style just doesn't work anymore. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same. It's the same thing that happened in New York with Tom Coughlin. And then, then you bring in Mike Mayock from another guy who was doing, analytical jobs for, NFL Network and stuff to be your general manager. And yeah, I mean, he's commenting on who should go where and how they should go there. But I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, he wasn't running the books.
Yeah.
So now you got that awkward situation. So it's just like, it's a franchise that's just in such flux that last year we loved.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Carr and Marshawn Lynch running the ball, and and Amari Cooper at the time, and the running back and other wide receivers that they had, and the defense that they were building. We saw a future, and now you got Gruden commenting on Derek Carr and loving the other quarterbacks that they've brought in and Peterman and stuff, and it's a weird, awkward situation. The entire franchise is there's something so weird.
It's a weird 180 from, like we said, last season. We were all very high on the Oakland Raiders. I think we all had them, if not winning the division, contending and not maybe making the playoffs.
Yeah.
To go from, a very good football team to, let's be honest, it's a lot of razzle-dazzle. A lot, we got the big name coach. We got the big name wide receiver. We got some big names on defense. That's fine and dandy, and it looks great on Madden if you're playing some guy in Madden Ultimate Team. But this is real football. They got to perform, and thus far, we're not really seeing all that much that's convincing us that they're going to be good this year.
I mean, it was a warhead. You suck on it, and it tastes really, really good at first, and then all of a sudden that sour flavor goes away, and it's a piece of candy. Mm-hmm. And it's just normal, plain, boring candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, Gruden coming back is like when John, coach of the Redskins there.
Oh, yeah, Joe Gibbs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Came back after being away for so long. The game passes people by.
Yeah.
And it's not a slight to him, but it's a different league, a different era.
To be fair, though, Gibbs tried to adapt.
Oh, yeah,
today's NFL.
He did, but Gruden, you take a look at so far, and it's not resonating.
He refers to too often in the show, and obviously referring to Hard Knocks of, we can't practice this way like we used to. We can't do this like we used to. You can't have that mentality and progress as a human, let alone as a coach.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting out the gate. They open against Denver at home in Week 1 on Monday Night Football. Week 2, they play at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 3, they travel up to Minnesota. Week 4, they travel to Indianapolis.
I mean, they could be 2-2. They could be 1-3.
Yeah.
A lot of different ways this can go.
Yeah.
A lot of different ways. I mean, Oakland's got a lot more questions than answers.
Mm-hmm.
So, Coach, let me ask you, who you got?
All right, so I already said Kansas City's going to win my division, or win this division. And then I've got basically the same way that it finished last year.
Yeah.
The Chargers, the Denver Broncos, and then Oakland.
No, I'm with Coach. I don't think you're going to see any change in the order with how it was last year. Kansas City in first, Chargers in second, Broncos in third, Raiders in fourth.
So looking at this, you have to give Patrick Mahomes and company the benefit of the doubt. The AFC West looks pretty weak to me, to be honest with you. And that I think they're going to win by default. And I mean this because, okay, the offense, you still have Patrick Mahomes. He's still playing at a high level. Who knows what we're going to get out of him, but he's still going to be up there. He's still going to do what he's going to do.
Sure.
So that being said, he's going to lead that team into doing what he needs to do. And going with that looking at the Chargers, there's a lot more uncertainty, I think. I think that we hit the nail on the head in the discussion. They won a lot of close games. They also lost a lot of close games.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very big distraction on their offensive side of the ball with Melvin Gordon. Is it enough to take away points from that team scoring? No, it's not. But when you're looking at this on paper, the team that snuck up on a lot of teams last season is going to be one that has a lot of question marks on their offensive side of the ball. Can the two running backs step up and replace Gordon? Can Hunter Henry be the guy? There's already injuries happening on the defensive side of the ball that are huge. I don't think they're going to do it, and I think they're going to have a fall off to a degree. They're still going to wind up in second because the division is that weak. Denver, I think, winds up in third by default, and I think their defense is going to win them some games that they probably shouldn't win.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, on their offensive side of the ball, nobody scares me. Nobody.
No.
And then Oakland, I mean, honestly, I'm looking at them and I'm going, if Antonio Brown can magically turn into the Antonio Brown of old, they got a shot. If he can't, this is all for nothing.
I mean, they're honestly a team that could go 14-2 out of nowhere or go 2-14 and not surprise you at all.
Yeah.
I mean, really, because
Not wrong.
They have talent. You can't argue that. It's just, is the foundation set enough that they can win games? And that's where I would say no.
Yeah. So looking at that, it's almost anybody's guess of what they can do. So I do think Oakland is ultimately going to wind up being in last. And I think that maybe the Gruden era is going to have one more shot. I mean, I know they got him guaranteed for, what, a 10-year contract?
Yeah, he's definitely
Something
coming
absurd.
back next year.
He's going to be back next season, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I think the hot seat's going to get really hot this year because you made the biggest splash in free agency, or the offseason, rather, by trading to get Antonio Brown. You have to make him connect with Derek Carr because you traded Amari Cooper away. You traded Khalil Mack away, and look at what happened when you did.
Whoops.
Yeah, you never got over that stigma. You need to improve on that, and you definitely need to step it up and do something there. If you don't, it's all a failure, in my opinion. So before we give our predictions for the playoffs and the overall AFC Championship, I want from the panel one player that is a fantasy football pickup, because we all play fantasy football here.
Yeah.
If you're not in a league, I highly recommend you do. Just sign up for one, play for fun. It's something that if you're not into sports, or not in the NFL rather, it will get you hooked quickly. It's just a fun thing to do.
I'll say that it's also not out of the realm of possibility for somebody to play a fantasy football league with no knowledge of the football teams or who they are. They just pick on names and they just go randomly and they win the whole darn thing.
Yeah. So let's get somebody from the AFC, starting with Coach.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious pick, I think, is Elker, Los Angeles, with Melvin Gordon's contract dispute being there. As a guy who picked up James Conner last year with Le'Veon Bell's issues, I reaped those rewards, and I was very happy about it. But I think that's the obvious pick. The guy I'm going to go with is somebody that I mentioned before, Miles Boykin with Baltimore. A big, tall, strong wide receiver that, I mean, if Lamar Jackson gets time and room and can throw the ball, I think he's going to be a target. And they've already set out of camp, like you mentioned earlier. They have a very good rapport together. So, I mean, if you need wide receivers and, you have a league where, you might have 3 wide receivers and a flex or 4 wide receivers and a flex, I think that's a name that if you can stash, he might not give you anything early. But I think as the year goes on, I think he's going to be somebody that it's a name you're going to hear often as the year goes on.
I'm going to go a little close to home. I'm going to go with N'Keal Harry, wide receiver from the New England Patriots. Of course, their first-round draft pick out of Arizona State. Yes, Josh Gordon is back for the NFL season, but we know his history. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. He's here right now. He could be gone by next week. So we talked earlier in the previous segment about the loss of Rob Gronkowski. So you got to fill the void and catches there. Yes, they still have Julian Edelman, but Julian Edelman is one man. He cannot do everything. As much as I love the squirrel, he can't do it all. So I think N'Keal Harry, is definitely a guy you got to keep an eye out for and pick up, even if you let him sit on your bench for a few weeks.
So for mine, I know everybody thinks I'm going to take somebody from Buffalo, but I'm not. I would say Cleveland is David Njoku. I think that with Baker Mayfield's offense, I mean, Odell's going to get a lot of coverage. He's going to be a guy that you want to pick up. But if I really have to make a choice, I'm going to kind of deep dive a little bit. I'm saying Hunter Henry. I think with Antonio Gates now being retired out, as of right now, he's no longer with the Chargers. Phillip Rivers needs a go-to guy, and he's always relied on his tight end. Henry has a lot of hype behind him. I think he's going to be the guy you want to go get, and I think he's going to put up a lot of points because Phillip Rivers likes to spread the ball around, and you know how he gets with tight ends. I think it's a safe pick to get on your sleeper team. And some teams are going to be a little apprehensive to pick him up because of his injury. So far, he's looked good when he's been back, so we'll have to wait and see on that. So now let us give you our breakdowns of the AFC with the overall AFC winner, starting with Coach.
So, are we going to go over overall playoffs?
Who's going to be in the playoffs,
Right,
and then
so
who you got winning the whole thing?
Obviously, I had Cleveland, I had the Patriots, I had Kansas City, I had Pittsburgh, and I have Jacksonville. My 1 seed being Kansas City again. I think they're going to repeat. New England being a very close second. I've got Cleveland then third, and then rounding out that would be the Texans winning the South, and then Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. My AFC championship game is going to be Kansas City and the Patriots, again in a repeat, but I think Kansas City this year has made the adjustments necessary to win it, and I think they go on to the Super Bowl by narrowly beating the Patriots again, 30-27.
I had the New England Patriots winning the East, the Pittsburgh Steelers winning the North, the Houston Texans winning the South, and then the Kansas City Chiefs winning the West. In terms of wild card, I've got the Cleveland Browns getting one of those spots, and then I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers getting the other wild card spot. I'm going to go with, kind of like Coach said, the New England Patriots and then the Kansas City Chiefs again in the AFC Championship game, with New England repeating again as AFC champions.
So I have the Pats winning the East, Pittsburgh winning the North, Kansas City winning the West, Houston winning the South, Jacksonville and Cleveland are my wild cards. My number 1 seed is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh,
Number 2 is going to be the Patriots.
I can't with you right now.
Yeah.
He can't even.
I can't. I just can't.
I'm going in on Pittsburgh. I'm saying
You and your love affair and bouncing back and forth with the AFC North, something's going on over there.
we have a lot of listeners out in the Midwest, so shout out to everybody out in Ohio.
You can't shout out Ohio when you're pitting Pittsburgh to win the division.
OH.
Get out of here.
I was going to shout out Ohio, but I'm also shouting out Pittsburgh. We have
all right.
You got to let me finish. You
okay.
Too easy to jump the guns.
But you can't shout out Ohio when you're sitting here saying, I think Pittsburgh's going to win the division. They're going to be the number 1 seed. Shout out Ohio.
You got to let me finish, my friend.
All right.
Because I do think Cleveland's going to make a run in the playoffs, but I think overall Pittsburgh is going to just win this year. I think, like I say, I think the Patriots are going to have a nice run, but the more I'm thinking about it, I think Pittsburgh is going to wind up pulling it off. Yep.
Yeah.
I've now made Coach leave the studio.
I'll say, I wish we had webcams for this.
Yes, but you're definitely going to
NFC.
Yeah, he wants to get jumping on the NFC, so we're definitely going to round that out. So the music you heard on this week's episode of the ODPH is that of Fair City Fire. You can find out about all of them on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Check the music section. You can check out the blogs. You can check out hashtag 607 podcast, find out about 3FN, find out about Horror Zone 607, everybody that is kind of contributing to the show, and a whole lot more. And in fact, I think Coach is going to have a very hot blog coming out there, probably bashing me about my
asinine. It's just asinine.
Yes, he's not handling the fact that I can shout out multiple cities, but I'm sticking with Pittsburgh. Something about the AFC North.
Last year it was Cleveland. Now it's Pittsburgh. Just bouncing back and forth.
Next year it'll be Cincinnati.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Baltimore even. Who knows?
Yeah. But that's all we got for this episode. We gave you our picks for the AFC. Stay tuned for our NFC show, which will be out very, very shortly, which, is pretty much going to be Coach talking about the New York Giants, and then maybe we'll get about 10 minutes on
I'm
about
so
everybody
upset
else.
I might stay on this Cleveland situation here.
We might have to carry it over. But for your coach, my coach, the coach,
Goodbye.
Goodbye and not good luck.
No.
For Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.